Hey everybody, it's Mark. Thanks for joining me today. With me today on my podcast are Billie Machain and her daughter, Veronica Tucci. Billie and Veronica own Billie's Painting Solutions. They're a painting contractor in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I don't normally put painting contractors on my show, but I really like their story. I came across Veronica and Billie when I noticed that they were named by Behr to be among the top women in painting. And I reached out and they were really nice enough to make some time. We had a long prep conversation. And I just think that their story is interesting. Anybody who follows knows I spend a lot of time putting out coverage on family businesses. I really think they're foundational to the American economy. And they are also what make being in the paint business, I've always found so enjoyable because so many of us are surrounded by our families all day. And I also thought it was interesting, again, during the prep, it became clear they buy all of their paint from Home Depot and Sherwin Williams. And I thought that that was interesting as well to maybe find out why it was that they didn't shop at independent retailers. So give a listen to Billie and Veronica. They do a really great job. Benjamin Moore retailers, they tell you right at the end of the video what it's going to take to sell them. This year, they're probably going to buy over $1 million a year. And so not just them individually, but other contractors like them in your market. At the end of this episode, Billie and Veronica share a blueprint for how to reach them. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining me today. With me today on my podcast are Billie Machain and Veronica Tucci of Billie's Paint Solutions in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Billie and Veronica, how are you today?
Very good. Yourself?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to let you two introduce yourselves, except just to briefly say, I found you guys on LinkedIn. You were included in a program with Home Depot that was getting a fair amount of press. And so I reached out to you, and you guys were good enough to participate. And so I appreciate you guys giving me a little time this morning. Why don't we start by just introducing yourselves and tell me what you guys are doing at Billy's?
Absolutely. You go first.
No, you go first.
Well, thank you for having us and the interest. My name is Veronica. I have been in the paint industry since I was 19 years old, and I started as a part-time job going through school, and it turned into my life's passion, which is where we are here.
And you started in stores, if I remember from our prep. Is that right, Veronica?
Yeah, so I started at Sherwin Williams in 2008. And I started just part-time. I was going to school and I was bored. I wanted another job. My mom was always in paint, and I always listened to her, and she always was a woman in a man's world. And I always looked up to it. I thought it was pretty cool. So I applied to be in the store part-time while I went to school. And I ended up kind of moving through the ranks. I did quite a few years part-time. And then as soon as I was done school, quote unquote, done school, I went straight into an assistant manager role, then a store manager role, and ended as a sales rep.
And now here you are dragged through the muck by your mother. And so Billie,
Yeah,
I know
she drugged me into it.
yeah. Billie, I know you've also had a long career in paint. You're new to being a contractor. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career path?
So my career path was similar. Got a job in a store, wanted to be a wallpaper girl, and went from that to assistant manager. Then went and I was part of the Duron paints. Had bought out all the entire Buten chain in the Philadelphia market, and so I helped with.
And we talked about that during the prep. That was right as I was a Duron dealer. I remember that. That was a very big deal.
It was a really, really big deal. And it was very exciting too. And so kind of one of the prizes of being part of that whole thing was I was going to be a sales rep, which is something I aspired to be. And so then I became a sales rep for Duron Paints, and I was the local contact for the national builders, and I dealt with all the local painters that dealt with the builders. And from there, then Duron did get bought out by Sherwin Williams. So I was back to
Yep.
Sherwin Williams as a sales
Yep.
rep. And then when I turned 50, I thought, let me just try the other side of this. And so then I went on and as a consultant for a painter and bid work and, captured work, things like that. And then in February, my daughter and I decided to kind of go out on our own and do it independently.
Very exciting. And so you guys, I found you when Home Depot had selected you to be their Women of the Year, I guess, or Women in Paint of the Year. When I saw you guys were mother-daughter, I just had to get you on. And so what kind of challenges, you're right, in that what you said earlier, Veronica, this is a male-dominated business. It's getting better now, but I've been in it for 30 years. When I first got into the business full time, there were no women except for a few wallpaper women in the stores, as you said, Billy. So what have been some of the challenges that you guys are facing as women working in a man's space?
I'd say for me, it's a balance of being, I am very friendly. So there's a big balance of needing to put my foot down. Like, you can be very friendly in the field, but if you don't put your foot down, you're probably not going to get respect. And you almost always have to have a point where you put your foot down and people don't like you so much for a little bit, but they respect you a lot more. And I'd say I learned a lot of that from Billie, my mom, because she has mastered it over all of these years.
Yeah, I guess I have.
But that's so her biggest fans are the ones that she has had kind of like arguments with or
most
fights
conflict,
with, the most conflict. But it's because she knows her stuff. And at the end of the day, that's what they need. She follows through, communicates, and brings a different side to the business, I think. I think that you bring more of a total thorough approach, but also because the sales training with Sherwin.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, the sales training with Sherwin is
extensive training.
Yeah. I had spent 4 or 5 years as a stockbroker before I got into the paint business. And I felt that the sales training that I got doing that really catapulted my career. What kind of training, Billy, were they giving you at Sherwin Williams?
So, well, we go way back, I actually used to be a door-to-door salesperson for Kirby vacuum cleaners, which was a major.
Oh, wow.
that was
that's hardcore selling right there.
That's really hard selling. So, but
Yeah.
when I got to Sherwin Williams, their sales training is, well, I just used it the other day. It gets all the way down into personality types, how to identify a personality type, what are their triggers, we were dealing with a person that was the builder was having a problem. The customer was an architect, and the minute he said that, I said, oh, I know what the problem is. You're not giving him enough information. You're not giving him enough solutions. He needs a clear path, a direct. And the builder was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, but I think you're exactly right. And he thanked me very much. And I said, well, that's Sherwin Williams training it and heart there, because it really does work. It does work to know your customers, know the type of people you're dealing with. Know when somebody says no, that just means they don't know enough.
What stage of the buying process are they in? They just don't know.
Smart goals.
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. But I will say, so Sherwin Williams, when I came through sales rep training, my training, hers was really hands-on, and you did a week away, but different. She was really always in the field and hands-on learning it. I went to the training. They do a week-long training in Cleveland, and you go out there and it's a week with your peers. Now, there's months beforehand that you're doing like paperwork, like an entire binder of learning everything, the ins and the outs. But then in person, you learn back and forth and with everyone. And I'd say it is thorough, like she said, down to the specifics, but they send you away. You go away for a week and you are immersed in everything. You are calling, making fake voicemails. You know what I mean? Like, you're calling each other and leaving voicemails, and they're putting it on the whole screen so the whole class can listen to it. And, it's very immersive.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I asked because any of my regular followers know I have some real issues with Sherwin Williams and the way they do some of their business. But in fact, their training program is outstanding. It's without a doubt the best in the industry. Sales training is a huge piece of that. I'm always advising the retailers that I work with, who are mostly, they're all independent paint retailers, effectively, Benjamin Moore dealers, Pittsburgh dealers, etc. And I'm always advising them the training, and particularly the sales training, is really the key to success. because that's the only way to keep your business growing is to keep adding sales. And you have to know how to do that. You have to be professional in doing that.
And I think too, one of the things when I was with Duron, I think the little difference with Duron training and sales, because obviously they had more of a philosophy of go out and make friends. You make friends, you get dirty. I remember early on, I would go out on job sites and I would caulk and putty. I would be selling to the painter as I was helping him prep. So, and that really would go very far. And then at some points, I would work on the side for some of them, and that also went very far. So I became very hands-on at Duron Paints, extremely hands-on, and that earned that respect, which I think I always found if the competition was, if the store person knew was really that hands-on, really, had a bunch of buddies that were painters that knew how to apply it, knew that, some paint was thick and sticky and some were slick, and how your painter liked his paint. And, just like I always found that those were the most successful stores, the very most. In our area, we had MAB, and MAB was up. Yeah, everyone knew who MAB
I remember
was.
them too. Yeah.
Their people were very hands-on. They were also very much, they were paint people. I think the difference with Sherwin Williams is they're not paint people, they are salespeople, but paint people is kind of the thing the industry really needs more of.
There are some paint, the older guys. Not
Yes.
the older guys, but
Sorry.
back,
older ladies.
I'll say like there's
beard.
a guy that I went through the ranks with, and he's probably only 40, but he stuck around, he's been in the business, and he is hands-on. I think that some are very hands-on, but the newer people through like the MTP program, which is what they're really pushing for sales and management. I think it is great that the sales and management have that type of background, but the hands-on background goes so much further.
And so tell me, you guys, during the prep, we talked about some of the opportunities that you guys have as women owners. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, so we have our women's cert, our WBENC would say, and that gives us opportunities to bid more work.
What kind of work does that open you up to, Veronica?
It opens us up to everything because there's the WBENC, which is a little bit more local, and then there's the WOSB, which is more federal. So it gives the builders or customers supplier diversity, and a lot of times they can get grants or federal money, tax benefit towards the projects. So that's helping us long term because she knows how to diversify our business because of her long-term training to understand the market. So diversifying our business has been really one of the big things this year.
And so what type of business are you guys doing? You're doing commercial, residential, mixed?
We're doing well, right now we just because of my background was national builders. So we are new home construction specific. We don't even advertise. We don't even have our phone number on any of our stuff.
Oh, wow.
That's how strict we are with it. It's all national builders or small builders, but primarily nationals, and it's always a good pay, 7-day pay on a lot of them. So that turns your money. And then with that, knowing what was coming on with the industry, because that's what I've done my whole life. I was always the builder business, new construction business, knowing that we were probably going into another downturn. We started really hitting apartments. So it usually is one or the other. Either you're in apartments or that, and when that is down, then you're in new homes. So we're doing, we're probably into we've done a couple of smaller apartment buildings so far this year, but starting in April, we're going to be starting 3 large projects. One will take us 18 months, and we'll manage that while we do the new home construction. Base of contractors or subs or the men that work with us are all kind of transitioning back and forth. They're more new home construction guys. Now they have to learn apartments, which is a little bit different.
Yeah, that market's gotten a little tough since interest rates hit 7-8% for a mortgage.
Oh yeah. We've definitely got ourselves a nice chunk of the other type of business, and the women's certification. We're right outside of Philadelphia, so there's a ton of money coming in for low income housing, and that's what we're positioning ourselves for. And we like to tell our guys, we're we're businesswomen, we're saleswomen. We are after a market that I don't think there's too many women after.
I
So
like that. I like when if you can find a little niche where you can operate without anybody really bothering you. If you guys are the biggest and the baddest or the only major women's painting contractor in Philadelphia, that just gives you a tremendous advantage. I love what you guys are doing, and so thank you so much. What a great place to end talking about Benjamin Moore Paint on a podcast for a bunch of Benjamin Moore dealers. So thank you guys both, Billie and Veronica, for your time this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. This has been a pleasure.
absolutely, it's been incredible.